Okay guys, you had a little bit of a hip extension restriction. To start your mobility progression for hip extension, you can always do a little bit of body work, a little foam rolling to your anterior thigh and your hip flexors. Then we're going to use a banded distraction technique. The goal here is to stay as tall as possible. You don't want to arch your back or try to feel like you're sinking way into your hip. You'll lose your stretch. You want to stay as tall as possible. Envision lengthening your spine as much as you can. And then you're just going to squeeze your glute. So turn your glute on. You want to give as hard of a contraction into your glute as you can. And you'll start to feel a really, really nice deep stretch here to your psoas. You just hold that for a few seconds. Then you can relax. On the next rep, just same thing, a little harder. Stay very, very tall. You can even lean away a little bit. But again, the goal is to try to lengthen the spine as much as possible. It's not to sink into your hip like this. If you're getting a little bit of a stretch, but not enough, you can add in a little bit deeper stretch by grabbing your foot and adding in your rectus femoris into the stretch. Again, squeeze the glute. You can even push your foot into your hand, relax, pull up, and just spend a few minutes like this, finding those tight areas. It's a really, really good way to mobilize your hip if you have a hip extension restriction. Okay guys, here's another hip mobility exercise for you. This one works on hip flexion and hip extension. I like to use it after the banded distraction hip extension stretch. To do this, you'll just come down on your hands and knees. Get your knees as wide as you possibly can apart. You should start to feel a little stretch here. From this position, you're just going to rock back and forth. On the way through, at the end, you want to give your glutes a little squeeze. When you squeeze your glutes, you should feel a good burn on your hip flexors. Just back and forth. If you find a range of motion that's sticking, you can just kind of hang out there, do some mini oscillations until that area loosens up. This is the tactical frog. If you want, you can throw in a little hip rotation and hip extension as well. Another great hip mobility exercise. Do here is get a good stable core and teach the body to let go of that hip flexion tightness. To do this, I like to do it from the 90-90 hip position. So you'll be laying on your back in a 90-90 position. From here, stabilize your head with the ab mat, 90 degrees, good diaphragmatic breath. Hold that tension. Then you're just going to straighten your leg, and I want you to slowly lower it. Touch the ground if you can. Back to 90-90. Exhale. Get you another good breath. Hold the tension. Straighten your leg. You'll do 5 to 10 reps of that on your restricted side. That's an eccentric psoas exercise. Okay guys, Another exercise I like to use for the hip extension mobility progression is a lower extremity prone to supine rolling pattern. Just make sure when you're doing this that you're not using your hand, you're just using your lower extremity to make the movement. And it'll look like this. Just do a few repetitions. If you had just one side that was limited, you can just do that one side. If both sides were limited, you want to do the rolling pattern in both directions.